Next, place the process selector switch in the stick position. Turn the power on and set the welding current on the control panel. Be sure to set a current that is appropriate for the size and type of electrode that you will be using. No further adjustments are required. You are now ready to weld. Start the arc by scratching the end of the electrode against the plate. Section 5. How to use the advanced MIG features. Advanced features such as trigger lock or dual schedule use the same guided setup as the other features that we've covered so far. That means they are just as easy to set. We'll cover the advanced MIG features one at a time, starting with trigger lock. In all cases, the process selector switch must be in the MIG position. Trigger lock. When activated, the trigger lock feature allows you to release the torch trigger while you are welding. This can help reduce welder fatigue. To select trigger lock, simply push the center scroll button several times until select trigger type is showing on the top line of the display. Now use the arrow button to change the bottom line. Once trigger lock is displayed on the bottom line, you can begin welding. To start welding, pull the torch trigger. When the arc is started, you can release the trigger. To stop welding, simply pull the trigger again. Spot welding. The spot weld feature is for short welds, spot welds, or plug welds. When selected, the arc will automatically stop after a preset time period. To activate, simply push the scroll button several times until select trigger type is showing on the top line of the display. Use the arrow buttons to display spot weld on the bottom line. Next, push the scroll key once to get the set spot time display. Use the arrow buttons to set your desired arc on time. Once the on time is set, you can begin welding. Simply pull the torch trigger to begin welding. The arc will automatically stop welding after your preset time. Release the trigger to reset for another spot weld. Stitch welding. The stitch welding feature pulses the arc on and off at preset intervals. The pulsing action makes it easier to weld on thin plate or on plate with poor fit-up without burning through. To select stitch weld, push the center scroll button several times until select trigger type is showing on the top line of the display. Now use the arrow button to change the bottom line. Once stitch weld is displayed, press the scroll button once to get the set on time display, and then use the arrow buttons to set the desired arc on time. Once again, press the scroll key to get to the set off time display, and then use the arrow buttons to set the desired arc off time. Now pull the torch trigger to start welding. The arc will automatically pulse on and off. Dual schedule. Dual schedule operation allows you to change between two settings while welding without breaking the arc. For instance, you can change from a hot, fast fill spray arc to an all-position short arc by simply bouncing the trigger switch. Bounce the trigger again and you're back to spray arc. You can go back and forth between the two settings as many times as necessary without breaking the arc. This is a great feature for improving productivity. To activate, push the scroll button several times until select active list is displayed on the top line. Use the arrow buttons to select list 1. Using the procedures that we've covered earlier, select the desired wire type, wire size, and shielding gas. For this example, set plate thickness at 12 gauge, which will provide a short arc condition. Now push the scroll button again to select trigger type on the top line. Now use the arrow button to change the bottom line to dual schedule. Next, you will use the guided setup procedures to establish your second setting. To do this, push the scroll button several times until select active list is displayed on the top line, and then use the arrow key to select list number 2. Now use the scroll button and arrow buttons to display and select wire type, wire size, and shielding gas. For plate thickness, select 3/8 inch, which will provide spray arc conditions in List 2. Before beginning your weld, use the scroll button to display Select Active List. Be sure to select List 1. Now pull the torch trigger and begin welding. All you need to do to change conditions while welding is momentarily release the trigger and then pull it in again. The action of bouncing the trigger should be very quick, switching from short arc on List 1 to spray arc on List 2. Here's an important hint for successful dual schedule operation. Make sure that the wire type, wire size, and shielding gas selections are the same for both List 1 and List 2. 3 memory storage. The memory storage allows you to preset 3 different welding conditions using the guided setup procedures. Then when you change from job to job, you simply select one of the preset memory listings and begin welding. To set up for a different memory list, push the scroll button several times until Select Active List is displayed, and then use the arrow buttons to select the desired list number. Any setting or changes that are made to the list will be stored in memory even if you turn the power off or select a different list. Select Start Type. The Migmaster 300i allows you to select between 2 different MIG arc starting methods. You can select normal starting, which means that when you pull the torch trigger, the wire begins feeding at the welding wire feed speeds. Normal starting is suitable for most mild steel or cord wire applications. You can also select a slow run-in start. As the name implies, the wire will start at approximately half speed and then increase to full speed. The slow run-in start can improve starting for stainless steel, aluminum, or high-speed mild steel welding. To change the starting type, push the scroll button several times until Select Start Type is displayed. And then use the arrow buttons to select either normal or slow run-in starts. Trim Burnback. A burnback timer keeps the wire from sticking in the puddle at the end of the weld. The factory setting for this timer is 0.2 seconds and should be suitable for most situations. You can adjust this time by pushing the scroll button several times until Trim Burnback is displayed. Use the arrow buttons to increase or decrease this setting. Manual setup allows you to fine-tune the Migmaster 300i for your specific welding parameters. To use manual setup, push the scroll button until Select Setup Type is displayed. Use the arrow buttons to select Manual Setup. Then use the scroll and arrow buttons to set wire feed speed, voltage, and inductance. This concludes our introduction to the Migmaster 300i CVCC welding system. Additional features and ordering information can be found in the sales brochure. The Migmaster 300i, another example of ELTEC's continuing commitment of leadership in the welding and cutting industry.